March 3rd, Lane County Board of Commissioners meeting. We will start off with a 1:30 p.m. time certain with Mr. Marcus Fahar. Okay.
I believe I've sent you a script. I have it in a copy if you'd like one.
Would you like me to start?
Yes, please.
Okay. Today is March 3rd, 2026, and I'm opening a public hearing on ordinance 2508. Is there a request from any commissioner to read the ordinance in full? If not, I will read it by title only. Not hearing any request to read the ordinance in full, the title of the ordinance is Ordinance 2508 in the matter of amending Chapter 8 of Lane Code to extend the term and franchise agreement with Charter Communications for a non-exclusive franchise for operation of a cable communication system to January 5th, 2027. Executing a franchise agreement extension and declaring an emergency, LC 8100.010. The order of proceedings for this hearing will be first report by staff, followed by public testimony, and then additional comments by staff. All commissioners are required to disclose any potential or actual conflicts of interest that they may have with the proposal before us. That means if a commissioner or one of their relatives could be financially impacted positively or negatively by the proposal, that should be disclosed for the record, followed by a statement that the commissioner can or cannot proceed. If there is an actual conflict, that must be disclosed on the record, and then the conflicted commissioner must recuse themselves and step out of the room until the public hearing has concluded. I'll ask for each commissioner to disclose any conflicts. Commissioner Lovell.
None to disclose.
Commissioner Farr.
I have none, thank you.
Commissioner Trieger.
None.
Vice Chair.
None.
Now I will ask for challenges to any commissioners. I also have none. Thank you. Now I'll ask for challenges to any commissioner's ability to participate in the public hearing. If anyone wishes to challenge a commissioner for a conflict of interest, the challenger should explain the basis for the challenges. The commissioner challenged will have an opportunity to respond and state whether they are able to proceed without an actual conflict of interest. Does any member of the public wish to challenge any commissioner's ability to participate in this public hearing? Seeing none, I will hand the presentation over to Mr. Marcus Fahar.
Great, thank you very much. And so as I stated during the first public hearing, this is really just us extending the current agreement that we are under to continue negotiations with Charter so we can land on a contract that we feel we're able to present to this board for approval. As of right now, I mean, the negotiation cycles on these can be quite long, mostly because I think there's a lot of nuances when it comes to cable franchising, including rights of way, permitting, revenues, things of that nature. And so we are spending some time to do some thorough review there. But in the meantime, our current agreement had expired. And so because of that, we just want to make sure we can extend it so we are safely under the current agreement. Again, no one is challenging the effectiveness of the agreement now. So there is no necessary rush for us to come to a new agreement, but for us trying to refine the current agreement and get into a better place, at least from our perspective, what we can land on. So all that being said, we're asking for this time to be able to continue those negotiations. In discussing with Charter, this was their proposed date, and so do I think it will take this long necessarily? I'm not really sure. I don't really think so. However, I will also note that we can always bring this to you whenever it's ready, and so this is just a safety net, so we hopefully don't have to come back to this board again to ask for further extensions. And so for that reason, I'm happy to answer any questions on this, but really right now we're just asking for more time to negotiate with them and continue on with the agreement.
Okay, thank you. Are there any clarifying questions from commissioners to staff? Okay, next will be public testimony. Do we have anybody signed up, Rio? Okay, thank you. Ms. Gebb, is there anybody online?
We do have one person joining us online, and I would like to check with that person to see if they would like to give public testimony. If you are joining us virtually and would like to give testimony during this public hearing, please raise your virtual hand. No hand has been raised. Chair, I'll return it to you.
Okay, thank you. Well, do any commissioners have any more questions for Marcus Deverose? If not, Vice Chair,
We're ready for a motion?
we're ready for a motion.
Very good. I just want to double check the record is closed now for the public hearing. Great. Okay. Very good. So I'll move to approve the second reading and adopt ordinance 25-08 as presented.
Well, we do need to vote to close the public hearing. Sorry. I thought
Oh.
That's what you were saying. Yes.
Got it.
Yep.
All right. Scratch that.
Scratch that.
We'll move back and I have a motion to close the public hearing.
I'll second.
We have a motion made to close the, motion made by Vice Chair, seconded by Commissioner Trieger to close the public hearing. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify with an aye.
Aye.
Passes 5-0. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay,
Vice Chair. Yep.
now we'll do the other one. Move to approve the second reading and adopt ordinance 25-08 as presented.
I'll second.
We have a motion made by Vice Chair, seconded by Commissioner Trieger to approve the second reading and adopt ordinance 2508 as presented. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify.
Point of order, is a roll call vote on an
This
ordinance?
is a roll call vote, yes, thank you. This would be Mr. Moker-Heisky at this point.
Okay, thank you, Chair. Commissioner Lovell,
Yes.
Commissioner Trieger,
Aye.
Commissioner Buck,
Aye.
Commissioner Farr,
Yes.
and Commissioner Senega.
Yes.
Passes 5-0.
Okay, ordinance 2508 is approved, and if not appealed, the amendments become effective immediately.
Great, thank you very much.
Great job. Thank you, Mr. Behar. Thank you, everybody. Okay, now we will be moving into the joint meeting, Board of Health, Board of Commissioners, Health and Human Services. And we are on 11A, Community Health Improvement Plan for 2026 and 2030. And I see Eve Gray and Kachina Inman coming to the table.
Chair, before we begin, sorry, did you go ahead and read into the joint?
Yes.
Okay. Before we begin on this item, we'd like to invite Jocelyn Warren, who's our Public Health Manager, up to the table. Come on. You may be wondering why there's such a large crowd here for the Board of Health meeting that we don't usually have such a large crowd for, but I think folks wanted to be here to recognize Jocelyn. Jocelyn's retiring from Lane County. I'd like to share some comments and then ask if Eve Gray, our Director of Health and Human Services, and Kachina Inman, our Assistant Director, would like to make some comments. Jocelyn Warren has served, she's been here one less year than me. Came in 2015. She served as Lane County's Public Health Manager and Administrator since 2015. The Public Health Administrator, as the board knows, is defined in state law as the professional that leads, plans, and manages local and state public health departments focusing on community-wide disease prevention, health policy implementation, and resource allocation. Jocelyn is the authorized agent for the Oregon Health Authority to enforce state laws, manage resources, oversee staff, and coordinate emergency response. She's been an extraordinary leader, a visionary, and a steady presence for our organization and for our community. Jocelyn joined us during the meningitis outbreak at the University of Oregon. I don't think you had much time to settle in before our community started throwing public health challenges at you. That was a moment that demanded immediate action and calm leadership, and Jocelyn stepped up and provided both. In the years that followed, she guided Lane County Public Health through some of the most defining events in modern public health, including the COVID-19 pandemic, while keeping issues of social justice and health equity at the forefront during a time when those values were often challenged and questioned. Her steady leadership has also endured through 3 directors now and the 2017 strike. She's advanced public health modernization, led through crisis, and leaves a lasting legacy, not just here in Lane County, but throughout the state of Oregon. She has consistently demonstrated our core behaviors in Lane County that I've mentioned this morning and that we believe so strongly in: a passion to serve, a drive to connect, and a focus on solution. And so we have some things here for her. I would like to present to Jocelyn it's small but mighty. We only give out so many of these Lane County coins recognizing many years of service in an outstanding manner to our community. So Jocelyn, on behalf of our organization, thank you. And I'd like to turn it over to Eve and Kachina for any additional comments.
Of course I have additional comments. It is fitting that I am commenting here right after getting 2 flus last week. So, you know, I will try not to cough going through this, but public health lives with us always. And I do have some things to present to you, but first I want to make some of my own comments as well. You all may be aware, maybe not everyone in the public is aware, but Jocelyn came to us from academia, and she does have a PhD. That's why we do try to say Dr. Warren, same as Dr. Pat, you know, because she is a doctor with us, and has been one of the brightest and most important minds in the state on developing public health modernization and the modernization manual, understanding what it takes to actually make public health work. We haven't learned that lesson operationally, right, in terms of budgets and the resources that are being placed into public health. But one of the real lasting legacies statewide that Dr. Warren will leave with us is a very clear understanding of the pathway that we would need to follow in order to ensure that we are resourcing public health in the way that it needs to be in order to do the work that we expect public health to do. So I think they're very important documents that are still referenced regularly by policymakers and throughout the state in the design and the funding of public health. And all of the things that Mr. Mokrzycki said about Dr. Warren's tenure with us are absolutely the case. I came in during COVID, and I'm actually amazed looking back at our public health staff, how many people stuck around. And why did they stick around? Is because they had a strong leader they could trust. And someone that they really felt embodied the values that the team cares about, someone who was able to lead them not just through this massive expansion where everyone was burning the candle at both ends in the middle in order to respond to the COVID-19 pandemic, handle this massive influx of resources, but then how to help people through the process of recognizing that the pandemic is forgotten history at this point from a budgetary standpoint and a policymaker standpoint, and having to lead the department through a contraction, or the division through a contraction, that has also been incredibly painful, because it has felt that we are not honoring the work and the commitment and the importance of the people who gave everything to our community during that pandemic time period, and yet so few people left. And I think it was because of you. So now, so few people are going to leave because of Mr. Johnson here, who is taking this on. But today is really about honoring you and what you have done and the incredible leadership that you have brought. And so I also have these lovely certificates. So this one is signed by all 5 of our commissioners in appreciation of your service to the county. And then this one, I will just read the words that your colleagues wrote about you here for your retirement certificate. Jocelyn has devoted more than 11 years of service to Lane County Public Health, guiding us through numerous transformations. Her exceptional expertise in public health, coupled with her deep passion for serving our community, has made a lasting impact. Beyond her professional contributions, Jocelyn's infectious laughter and joy have been appreciated by many. Her presence will be deeply missed, and we wish her a fulfilling and joyous retirement. And then we don't actually get to present many of these at the Board of Commissioners meeting, so I'm going to pull it out, because not everyone may be familiar with the beautiful covered bridge that employees who have served with us long enough receive upon their retirement. And we did indeed spell your name correctly. So that is a huge testament to the staff who order these, the checking and the double checking. But thank you so much. Really appreciate having had the opportunity to serve with you. And I will turn it over to Ms. Inman.
I just have a few comments to add. It's been truly an honor to work with you, Jocelyn, over the last 6.5 years, and it's been a curvy, bumpy ride, and I just admire the way that you both center community and bring the research and science behind all that you do. That's kind of the amazing trifecta that Jocelyn's leadership has brought to public health. I also just want to call out, which has been called out already, your fierce advocacy at the state level to really lift up and make sure we remember the importance of local public health. So thank you for your continued effort there. And then I also have to highlight the joy and the laughter that you bring. I am so going to miss our morning huddles and our team meetings, where you just always can bring that level of joy to the workplace, which is a real gift. So I wish you the best retirement, and thank you for your dedicated service here at Lane County.
Thank you, Chair, for allowing us to take that minute. And certainly if commissioners would like to share anything, and then I think we'll go to the other item.
I'm guessing there's some comments. I can tell you're loving this. To the commissioners. At Farr, first with his hand up.
Well, I was here before you also, but I remember when you came, and in January of 2015, when the meningitis outbreak hit at University of Oregon, and I didn't fully understand it. Didn't understand the impact and importance of it, the significance. You know, we live in a relatively insular place. We don't hear what's happening nationally in health news too frequently, unless it becomes real headlines. Well, in February of 2015, I was at the National Association of Counties Board of Health meeting, and your name came up. And Lane County came up as a major topic of an example of how a local health agency, Lane County, Health Authority Lane County, worked very closely with the University of Oregon to help them to contain and to treat the meningitis outbreak. It could have been much larger than it was, if not for the work, and I'll say this very specifically as I look at you, that you did, bringing everything together and making that outbreak as minimal as it was. One death occurred, could have been far more. The outbreak was contained, could have been uncontained very, very easily, but your coordination with the University of Oregon was applauded on a national level in Washington, D.C. I think it may have been before I'd even met you. So your name goes before you, not just locally where we know about you here, but this was in January 2015 in Washington, D.C. You were being celebrated, and you are to this day. I will miss working with you, and look forward to working with Brian, of course, because we've worked with Brian for a long time, and I think he's worked together with you for a very long time, Dr. Warren. But I'm highly impressed with your body of work, but even more impressed with your legacy. Thank you.
Mr. Lovell.
Thank you, Chair. Dr. Warren, you've done a great job through some uncharted territories. I mean, nobody in public health, as Director Gray illustrated, has gone through some of the things that you've gone through, and you've done so with professionalism, grace, vision, and a goodness of heart toward the people that you serve. So I want to thank you for that. And I want to, as I was listening to Director Gray talk about your service, I'm reminded of what one of my college professors said. He said that the greatest compliment is when someone can remember to spell your name correctly, but the best compliment is when someone remembers your name long after you're gone. And I think we'll do that. So thank you very much.
Mr. Trigger, please.
Sure. I think I've mentioned before in 2010 when the Oregon Health Authority was created and the first Oregon Health Improvement Plan was created, and I was going to comment to this on the next agenda item, but I'll mention it here. And I had the great privilege of sitting on that first advisory that developed the OHIP, the Oregon Health Improvement Plan. And so I started my sort of entree into thinking about public health and social determinants of health at that statewide level and what plans look like. And I'm struck by the number of things we were focused on back in 2009 and 10 for a 2011 forward 10-year plan that we've accomplished. And you've been a part of a lot of those accomplishments, particularly I'm thinking about a lot of the tobacco prevention work. But it's also such a reminder that, as Director Gray said, public health is always with us, and it's a timeline. And your segment of the timeline here at Lane County and statewide has been so impactful. You've served during a time of real sea change in understanding and language about how we talk about public health and social determinants of health, and your ability to merge that academic mindset with that sort of clinical viewpoint with the community work that happens at a county public health department has been exactly what we needed at this point in time. You are absolutely regarded and respected statewide through your work with CLO, with the Coalition of Local Health Officials. And I also have had the great privilege and joy, because it really is fun to sit as the liaison to the Public Health Advisory Committee. So I get to see you in that community interface role too. And really, like I said, bring all that statewide population-based health, that academic approach, the clinical perspective and understanding, but really then manifest it through community work. That's what it's really about. That's what local government's about. And I know that committee has done really great work because of your guidance and support of them and leadership. And so we've been so lucky to have you, and we will miss you.
Commissioner Buck, Vice Chair Buck.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Warren, for spending all this time here in Lane County and really just looking out for the residents as your guiding star. I know that the work here has been exceptionally challenging over the years, given different health impacts to our community, but I have sincerely enjoyed working with you. It sounds like so many of your colleagues feel the same way. We are so sorry to see you go because your work is so good. But I want to give a huge congratulations because retirement is a big deal. And I'm sure it's not always an easy decision to know when that time is. But I thank you for your service here and hope we can stay in touch.
Okay, well, I don't think there's many more compliments left to leave, so I'm going to tell a quick little story. I had just started as a commissioner, and we were talking about COVID. And I said something in the meeting, just almost in passing, about how much damage this has done to our kids or something like that. And I can see you kind of perked up. And it must have been 2-3 weeks later, you caught me in the hallway. Commissioner Seneca, I've been thinking about what you said in that meeting. I'm sitting there going back in my head, what did I say? And in the hallway, I got the most thorough, thoughtful presentation about kids and the damage COVID did. And it was just, it was so telling of how, I mean, you just take a little bit that somebody's talking about, and I mean, I could just watch you almost obsess over it, and you needed to go and tell me that what we had done and all the great things that had came out of it. So, I mean, that's just an indicator of the kind of passion and you put into your work. So it's really, really appreciated, and I'll hearken everything everybody said here. So appreciate it. Clap.
I'll just, if I can, just very quickly, because I don't want to take any more of your time. This is very overwhelming. Thank you all very much. It's been an incredible opportunity. Being in public health practice at the local level is really the most amazing place to be, as all of my colleagues here can tell you as well. So I have very much enjoyed the work, and you are in very good hands with Brian Johnson. So I think that going forward, it will be, still on the path forward and upward, and expanding the impact and the success of public health locally. So thank you very much. I really do appreciate the recognition, and I will let you get on with the very important business of the county now. Thank you.
Okay. I see Eve running away, so we have Kachina here.
Okay,
I
I'm going to
think we should
invite
just
our folks that are going to be here to present on the Community Health Improvement Plan. And I'll kick us off here and do some brief introductions. Wonderful. So today we'll be providing you a presentation around our Community Health Improvement Plan. As you may remember, we were here in August giving you an overview of our Community Health Assessment, which heavily informs our Community Health Improvement Plan. This is a process that I am truly proud of in the way in which we do both the assessment and the plan portion. It is guided by our community and formed with our community. And we actually have a lot of members of our community here, as well as staff from public health who have been part of the process. We also have folks online from varying parts of the county, because it's incredibly important that we get the diverse perspective as we move these plans forward. I also want to call out that throughout this process, it is done in collaboration with a number of key partners, and it's jointly funded, not just by Lane County Health and Human Services, but also by Trillium, Lane Community Health Council, Pacific Source, and Kaiser all make the Community Health Improvement Plan happen, and we do that collectively. So now I'd like to introduce our folks here today to give you more details of this plan. So we have Kayla Gray, one of our community health analysts at Public Health. We have Leilani Brewer, who leads our Community Health Improvement Plan. And then we have Darcy Standifer, who is part of our Community Advisory Board with our coordinated care organizations. So I'll go ahead and turn it over to you, Kayla.
Thank you, Kachina. Good afternoon, Chair Seneca and Commissioners. It's wonderful to be here, and I appreciate the opportunity to share with you all the mission and purpose of Live Healthy Lane. Our Live Healthy Lane collaborative is, in its name, a community collaborative working together to improve the health and well-being of the Lane County community and beyond. Everyone needs certain things to do and be well, whether that's safe housing and food or belonging and social connection. In our Community Health Improvement Plan, you'll hear us refer to it as a CHIP. Our CHIP is really the way that those community conditions come together for all in our community, through prioritizing the community's most pressing needs and through enhancing alignment across efforts. Reducing health disparities, promoting health equity, and improving overall population health are central to our purpose in this work. So this slide provides a little background of the work. Coordinated care organizations, also known as CCOs, are required by Oregon Revised Statute and their Medicaid contracts to complete a CHIP. that is informed by a community health assessment, or a CHA, at least every 5 years. And to maintain our public health accreditation status, Lane County Public Health is also responsible for a CHA chip. So in 2013, we participated in our first collaborative CHA chip in partnership with Trillium Community Health Plan, CCO. And in 2015, the Live Healthy Lane Collaborative was born, and several partnerships formed over the iterations to support this work. The really key piece here, and you see the logos and the many partners involved, is that this requires significant partnership to succeed, as well as community engagement at every phase. This is my favorite part to share. Next is really the community coalitions that make this work real and bring it to life. Our CCO, Community Advisory Council, plays several roles in both the CHA and the CHIP process. They oversee the development committees, participating in those committees, participating in each of the assessments throughout the process, and also providing input throughout each phase. The Community Advisory Council also formally adopts the 5-year CHIP as their shared guide in collaboration with the CCO, and work closely with CCO and public health staff to make sure that there's strategic alignment for the Medicaid spending programs, as well as prevention programs overseen by the council. Next slide, please. This slide covers the Community Health Improvement Coalition in particular, that was tasked with a very big job between July and December of 2025 to construct what we now know as our 2026 through 30 Community Health Improvement Plan. So much incredible work was done in this short amount of time, with the 46 individuals involved and 12 consultants that joined to help set the objectives for the CHIP. The group held diverse regional representation from many communities, including one tribal community partner. You'll also see here that there are communities involved outside of Lane County. And this is really a reflection of that we often see folks from these communities either receiving services or working within Lane County, and they're involved in the work in different ways. The next slide provides a visual of where coalition members are at geographically. And on the right side here, you'll see the original reservation boundaries of the Confederated Tribes of Siletz Indians, which expands far past what we now see as the Lane County community. In addition to that, we also partner strategically with Douglas and Lane County partnerships such as the Regional Health Equity Coalition. RISE of Umpqua and Willamette Valleys has been an incredible partnership across the community health improvement efforts. And then this visual provides an overview of the organizational structure that we're currently operating from, which of course evolves throughout the phases of the work. And so you'll see the different entities involved in the support and guidance of the CHA-CHIP process, along with those that provide coordination and leadership. And again, of course, we could not do this work without the partners that provide the support and resource to keep the work going. Those are listed there on the right.
All right, so the CHIP gives us a roadmap on how we can work together to create the most impact in our community. And this is a great visual that's also included in your packets that shows you the 3 priority areas and a brief description of what our strategy is under each area. At the top, you can see our vision, which was developed out of the community health assessment, which was also a community-led process. And it really guided our work in developing this CHIP. So I will, and that QR code right at the bottom will take you to our Live Healthy Lane website, where you can find some resources, including our updated Live Healthy Lane Equity Lens tool. All right, so here is our first priority. The goal is to strengthen access to health services. And the strategy is to promote community health workers through creative communications and enhancing health literacy specifically. So making sure that these materials are accessible to all people. Traditional health workers are people you can trust in the community, and someone often shares lived experience, language, or culture with you. And traditional health workers can help people get the health and social care they need by connecting people to care, helping with navigation of different systems, supporting ongoing care and wellness, and advocating, and also providing cultural appropriate care support. So in Oregon, traditional health worker is a group name that covers 6 different worker types, and we'll be focusing first on community health workers, and these are public health workers who are deeply connected and trusted in their communities. This slide here is a great shout out to the many different folks that were involved in developing this specific priority, the objectives and strategies. And you can see here that we've had representation from clinical providers, health promotion and disease-specific nonprofits, developmental disability services, housing, behavioral health and social services, government and public sector, community-led organizations, and of course our traditional health workers here in Lane County. And you can also see our team support staff. Our resource partners provided more than just financial backing here. They did help a lot with our administrative support and really helping connect us with folks in a community to make sure that we were really developing a plan that was the community's plan. Okay, so one of the things that we found early on in discussions was, what do we mean by when we talk about access? We hear often improve access, enhance access, increase access. So we went into a deep dive, and the SHEIC developed a shared definition that reflects both the local context and state level guidance. And this includes the 6 A's that you see here today. We have awareness, availability, affordability, accessibility, accommodation, and acceptability. And this process began with a subcommittee reviewing key sources, including guidance from the Oregon Health Authority, the Oregon Health Policy Board, prior CHAWS and CHIP documents, including from across Oregon, as well as coordinated organization or CCO metrics. And this is the shared definition that was developed. This is a really neat slide. So throughout the presentation, we'll show you how the CHIP aligns with the Lane County Strategic Plan. And this is the first one. So the county's focus on a safe and healthy county calls for increasing access and alignment of healthcare services. The CHIP strategy reinforces this through reducing barriers to care, expanding prevention and intervention, and strengthening health access through health literacy. The county intentionally also utilized the community health assessment to guide its plan, ensuring decisions are data-driven and responsive to community need. The formation of a new community health improvement data group led by Lane County Public Health in 2026 will develop measurable indicators to track our progress throughout these 5 years, and these will be shared with the community. So what does it look like for the community if we're successful? We'll see more accessible information about how to navigate care in different systems. We'll see stronger connections between families and services, and we'll have more culturally responsive and trusted health support. And this here is a nice visual that gives you a look into the journey of this subcommittee and how they landed on these specific strategies and objectives. On the left, you can see the community health assessment data points that really spoke to us in these subcommittees. You can see a brief description of our equity focus, our strategy and objectives, why we're focusing on community health workers, and that QR code right under the proven strategies, it will take you to the Robert Wood Johnson Foundation's website, where you can actually find some proven strategies. If you're interested in working on priority 1 and maybe your line of work is better suited in another area, or you'd like to see what else there is that can impact this area. And we've provided a few bullet points there on some strategies to look into. And then on the far right, you can see what we heard from the community. So some quotes or some takeaways that we've had in building this priority. And now I'll turn it back over to Kayla.
All right, so our second priority here focuses on community resilience and access to basic needs. And the priority aims to ensure equitable access to basic needs and essential services, to build strong connections and community safety, and to support disaster preparedness and recovery. The strategy is to identify and strengthen local community resource hubs that support basic needs, equitable preparedness, and places of connection. So a reference back to the access definition that the coalition spent a great deal of time making sure that that was really capturing the true essence of access. This definition really helped in identifying local community hubs as key to the success of this priority. So how are we defining local community resource hubs? These are accessible spaces shaped by communities rather than formally designated or state recognized. They connect people to a broad range of essential services like food, housing, transportation, and economic opportunity, while also serving as a place where neighbors can gather, build relationships, and support one another. The inclusion of this strategy is in part in response due to the loss of Environmental Protection Agency grant funds that were intended to support this body of work. We are hopeful and committed to utilizing the valuable research put into that process to advance this work, going within existing resources and bringing together the collaborative to support this as part of our CHIP strategy. This slide here, again, provides an overview and a shout out to the incredible partners that made this priority possible. Coalition and consulting partners included community-led organizations, environmental advocates, organizations working in food security, sustainable transportation, disaster preparedness, homelessness intervention, government social services, health and wellness, and our Community Advisory Council members. And the next slide, again, does a quick alignment of the CHIP work alongside the Lane County Strategic Plan in the areas of preparedness, public safety, and economic development. The Lane County Strategic Plan emphasizes investing in preparedness and accelerating disaster recovery. The CHIP aligns by strengthening neighborhood-based resource hubs, and it aims to identify where hubs already exist, address gaps geographically and culturally, and improve training and communication systems. For public safety alignment, the strategic plan calls for sustainable funding models for community-based programs, and this strategy supports serving disproportionately impacted groups backed by the data from the community health assessment process. We need this data to back up and support intentional outreach efforts. And lastly, the economic development alignment that we see, we know that expanding job opportunities and fostering business growth improve health outcomes. Analyzing the strengths and gaps as part of this strategy may reveal service shortages, business development opportunities, or workforce needs. And economic vitality supports stable housing, access to healthy food, and healthcare access. So we know that both health and economic development are deeply interconnected with each other. So what would this look like if we are successful in building community resilience and access to basic needs? We would see more connected and collaborative community supports. People would have clear and equitable access during emergencies, and we would have safe places to gather, build connections, and support one another. Again, this beautiful summary slide really shows the journey from start to finish. There's a QR code to link to the community health assessment data that helps support this priority, as well as different strategies that can help us collectively move forward this priority area.
And so our third priority is our goal is to strengthen the community and family resources to support mental health and well-being. Our first strategy is coordination. We're supporting mental health system coordination and collaboration by improving information sharing and developing a centralized bank of knowledge of current initiatives to check in before launching something new. Our second strategy is help seeking. Promote positive community norms around mental health, well-being, and help seeking through an inclusive, strength-based communications and storytelling campaign. Our third strategy is an early screening and referral. We're going to expand early screening and referral for perinatal and early childhood mental health. beginning in pregnancy and continuing through early childhood. So why mental health? Well, mental health includes diagnosable conditions like depression, anxiety, and schizophrenia, but it also includes everyday wellness and resilience. In healthcare systems, you often hear a broader term like behavioral health. That includes mental health conditions like substance use disorders and health-related behaviors like sleep and nutrition. Through community engagement, we hear clearly that mental health feels more familiar and welcoming. It centers around well-being rather than being a label or a diagnosis. Some community mentors have shared that behavioral health can also feel technical and maybe even stigmatizing, and sometimes sounds like a referral to a behavioral health problem. Because this plan is built with and for the community, the coalition chose to intentionally use mental health as our primary term. At the same time, we explicitly named substance use disorders in the priority title to ensure the full scope of the needs is recognized. This approach bridges community voice with the system-level clarity and reduces stigma and invites everybody into the work. All right, and this is the team. This is overview and a shout out to all the many partners that we had. And want to thank all of them. Perspectives represented was early childhood development, family and veteran support, mental health advocacy, trauma-informed healing-centered care. Also, the Lane County Veteran Services was consulted for this team as well. So the Knowledge Bank strategy. Well, the Lane County Strategic Plan supports programs that foster healthy environments. The Knowledge Bank strategy emphasizes systems-level approaches to mental health, substance use disorder, prevention, and community well-being. This includes cross-sector collaboration with public health, schools, wellness providers, and community-based organizations, with the aim to map initiatives and priorities and making this information available to the public to reduce fragmentation and increase collaboration and impact. The help-seeking strategy, this includes using strength-based public awareness campaign that uplifts culturally and socially diverse stories, normalizes help-seeking, and promotes healing and recovery. Messaging can be culturally responsible and community-informed with the aim to support early intervention and reduce crisis escalation. So what does this mean for the community? When we're successful, the community will experience earlier support for families and children, stronger community leadership and connection, and more community members are equipped to recognize and respond to mental health needs. And this is a visual detailed of how we went through the process, like the other two priorities, and we have QR codes like that as well. Okay, now the monitoring and evaluation. Lane County Public Health has recently formed a data team to support ongoing CHIP monitoring and evaluation. This is a visual of some of the data points pulled from the CHA that its team will exploring to develop measures and indicators, which will be shared with the community. Now, the CHA identified a lack of existing data on how people experience the transportation system, especially people coming from structurally marginalized identities. The LCPH worked with the Community Advisor Council, Lane Transit District, and Mainstream Housing to prioritize centering the perspectives of people living with disabilities and wrote a successful ODOT Initiative Mobility Program grant to fund this work. LCPH and partners, which include Lane County Public Works, GIS engineer, will focus on gathering data focused on people in affordable, subsidized housing outside the Eugene-Springfield metro area and people living with disabilities with the goal to understand barriers, opportunities, and community experiences. The LC strategic plan calls for investing in functional infrastructure and transportation, which is essential for infrastructure for the health access. This assessment will support this work by identifying geographic inequities, informing infrastructure investments, and strengthening resilience. And this is just a visual. If you're interested in our work, you can speak to Joe Rogers. The information is included on the side, and we'd like to take the time to invite everybody and Cottage Grove community members who may be watching to attend this first Community Transportation Forum, which is going to be on March 18th at Cottage Grove. There is a QR code that will take you to a survey for those who may not be able to attend. And if you'd like to reach out to Joe to learn more about this forum, we'll be coming to your area.
Thank you, Darcy. So this is one of the CHIP's most active work groups, and it's staffed by Lane County Prevention and has been established since the CHIP's inception. So it's been a long time that the tobacco work group has been around doing great work. And this work group focuses on more than just reducing smoking and vaping. The work of this group is about environmental health, mental health, and reducing long-term chronic disease. One of the group's current strategies is to increase the number of tobacco and smoke-free environments, which include parks and public spaces. We know that smoke-free policies reduce exposure to secondhand smoke, decrease tobacco litter, including vape, cigarette cartridges, and batteries, which have been problematic here in the past few years, support youth prevention, and they normalize healthy environments. And smoke-free parks encourage physical activity, community and family-friendly environments, and positive school social norms. In addition to environmental strategies, this group invests in cessation supports, including training and professional development, expanding access to cessation therapy, rural engagement through nicotine replacement therapy partnerships, and creating and distributing quit kits, which lower barriers for people who are ready to quit smoking or vaping. So this work is collaborative and cross-sector, and for those of you who are here today interested or watching, the work group is open to partners across sectors and welcomes everyone who's interested in promoting smoke-free environments, helping create and distributing quit kits, working in outreach, and investing in youth prevention. So the next meeting is here on your slide, March 25th from 10 to 11 a.m. They're all virtual, and it's a great opportunity to plug into an implementation-focused group around the CHIP. So we know that tobacco and vape prevention is one of the most cost-effective public health strategies. By combining policy change, environmental supports, and direct cessation resources, we're building healthier communities for the long term. And that is my alarm to pick up my kid, actually, that I forgot to turn off. So, Brian, if you can get that for me, yeah, thank you.
Don't turn it on, turn it up.
It's, yeah.
Pick up your kid.
Yeah.
Do we need to leave?
Right there, probably,
Good.
Okay, thank you, Brian. So we're wrapping up the presentation here, and this is just a quick reminder of our 3 priority areas. So across all of these examples, what we see is that the Community Health Improvement Plan isn't a separate document, it's a shared roadmap, and the strategic plan of Lane County and the CHIP reinforce each other. So when we align our infrastructure, safety, economic development, and community well-being, we are building a truly safe and healthy Lane County. And this tells you a little bit about what we're going to be doing in our first year with the CHIP implementation period. We're going to be doing some data and measures work. So Lane County Public Health, the Community Partnerships Program specifically, has recently convened a group to develop those CHIP measures that I mentioned a little bit earlier. And it's going to help us tell the story of our progress. And we'll have some policy and systems work as well. So in 2026, Lane County Health and Human Services will continue to convene a group of Live Healthy Lane partners to identify some policy training opportunities and to track some relevant policy. Of course, Lane County staff will use the commissioner's priorities as a guide. And a recent example of this, which is really exciting, of this coalition's work, includes the Eugene Chamber of Commerce advocating for shelter funding in Salem. Okay, so as we close, we want to leave you with this. The Community Health Improvement Plan only works if it's shared. This isn't Live Healthy Lane's plan. It's not Public Health's plan. It's our community's plan. Together, we can do more than any one organization can do alone, and that's our motto. So what what does advancing the CHIP actually look like? Well, here's a nice visual for you that you also have in your packets. First, it means leading system alignment, embedding CHIP priorities into strategic plans and work plans. So when you're launching something new, ask, how does this align with the CHIP? When funding decisions are made, consider whether they support shared indicators. Alignment reduces duplication. So let's make sure that we are not duplicating our work. Second, it means that driving data and accountability. We have strong community health assessment data, so let's use it. Let's let it guide our interventions and target resources where disparities are greatest, and let's share progress openly. Transparency builds trust, and shared dashboards helps us see what's going on and where we might need to make adjustments. And luckily, the CHIP will be reviewed annually with community, so we'll have time to make those adjustments when needed and stay responsive. So something that we learned from the COVID-19 pandemic was we needed to have these processes in place to make sure we're meeting community when it's needed the most. Third, it means championing cross-sector collaboration. So health doesn't happen in just one department, doesn't live in one department. It intersects with housing, transportation, economic development, behavioral health, and public safety. So breaking down silos and engaging community members in decision-making strengthens everything that we do. So the CHIP gives us a shared framework to plug into, so collaboration becomes easier and more intentional. We also need to advocate for sustainable funding. So implementation requires investment. We align, so when we align grant proposals and legislative priorities with the CHIP, we tell a stronger story. Funders want alignment, and the CHIP provides that alignment. Sustainability ensures this isn't short-term momentum, but it's long-term change. Community engagement is also critical. Commit to reporting on progress and celebrate those successes. Take the time to do that. It means a lot to the community. Share your stories, and data, it proves their impact, but stories help to build momentum, and both of them matter. And finally, policy leadership. Some of the most powerful health improvements happen outside clinical settings. Policies that address housing, transportation, food access, and regulatory barriers create lasting structural change. When we change conditions, we change outcomes. Advancing the CHIP doesn't mean starting something new. It means aligning what we're already doing. If each of us takes ownership within our role, collectively we drive measurable, lasting health improvement across Lane County and beyond. So this is shared work, and it's powerful work, so we thank you and everyone for being a part of it. This next slide is our contact slide, and happy to take any questions, Chair and Commissioners. Thank you.
I was expecting another QR code. To the board. Commissioner Farr.
Wonderful presentation. The slides are great, and for anyone watching, the slide deck is contained in our information packet for today's meeting. A lot of work goes into this. You make it seem so easy when you say it so eloquently, so freely. And I think back on when we first had a CHIP, back in it was 2015 and 2016, 17. And it was coincident not long after Steve Mokrahysky arrived here. And when Steve Mokrahysky arrived here, we didn't have a county strategic plan at all, and we didn't have a CHIP. And so we began working on the county strategic plan, and it was driven by the administrator, Steve Mokrahysky, but worked on by the entire staff. And then when we started working on the CHIP, I thought, well, how does this integrate with a county strategic plan? How can we make it happen? And it seemed daunting to me at the time. And I'm popping straight forward to slide 32. It says, embed CHIP priorities into strategic plans and work plans, and align programs and funding with indicators. So it's become just a natural way to align the strategic plans, the important strategic plan that the county has, but with the important strategic plan of the CHIP, and it really is integral. So that people inside of our organization can really look at the work they're doing and see how it actually forwards on a daily basis, forwards the work of the CHIP, and how it works in conjunction with everybody else's work at all times. It's huge, it's tremendous, and if you weren't there at the beginning of this, you don't realize how daunting a task it was to begin with the community health assessment in 2015 that didn't really know what we're going to hear. and then how the CHIP's priorities have changed through the years. You mentioned the smoking council, or whatever it's called today, is still in place. Well, back then, we were the only, there were no counties even had smoking ordinances. We were the first one, and the state quickly followed us. And the CHIP was some of the early days of the success of the CHIP. It's been successful every step of the way. And the only other thing I will mention, other than I could go on and on about the different things that have happened in the CHIP and the coordination with other organizations, but community coordination has been essential. And I'm just going to add this moment of woe for Clear Lake Elementary, the school that closed down. Wonderful school. Our kids all, Debbie and my kids all went to the school at Clear Lake. And Clear Lake was to be one of the community resilience hubs. But the $20 million in funding was rescinded by the federal administration, in effect. And so we had to see what we could do in the meantime. But because of community coordination, it really is working. Not to the extent we'd hoped, not to the extent we'd planned, and not to the extent that we'd actually strategized out. But because the entire community is behind this, and I can point to the example of Clear Lake Elementary, it is working. The work you do reaches every corner of the county, and every life and every soul in Lane County is affected by the work that you do. And I could go on a long time talking about very specifics, but the overall general nature of the CHIP and the way it moves forward continually, never rests on what it's done, continues to move forward, is beyond impressive. So thank you very, very much for this presentation. I'm going to keep this presentation, I'm going to put it, hide it on my, not hide it, but store it on both of my devices here, and be able to check my work and make sure that I'm doing the right thing according to the strategies that you've lined out. So thanks.
Mr. Trigger.
Thank you, Chair. Well, I'll just echo what Commissioner Farr said all the way, and thank you all for a great presentation. And thank you to everyone who came to hear the presentation and see some familiar faces. And I'm sure there are other folks watching online. I also very much appreciate the integration and cross-reference with the overall strategic plan for the county within the CHIP. And I think it's both a testament to the county's strategic plan being on the right track, that the community's plan is fairly easy to integrate across those two plans. But the focus is on the CHIP, and the most important thing about it, which is, I think Leilani particularly pointed out, it is the community's plan. It is not experts coming in to tell a community what they should want. It is asking the community, what is your experience and what do you need? Without shying away from the answers, as difficult as they may be. And so in particular, the fact that we have a priority area around mental health and substance use disorder. And when we look at the CHA data, it is compelling and has some urgency behind it, that a quarter of 8th and 11th graders have unmet mental health needs, and that nearly doubles for non-binary and trans youth and LGBTQIA youth. That is, I think it's priority 3, but those priorities aren't in rank order. It's just the third of 3, not in rank order. And so when I see that, that is a top priority for me in terms of wanting to track what we're doing to address that. And checking back in with the community and asking how they're doing. I think that is a great example of getting honest answers like that, so that we have that data that connects directly to the storytelling that you all talked about as being so important, that we allow youth an opportunity, we create those opportunities for them to tell their own stories and their own experiences, so we have this real data and to work from and understand it better. So we have a lot of work to do. But as Commissioner Farr mentioned, we thought we were on the precipice of some really transformative work with that $19.5 million grant. The grant was revoked, but the commitment to the work can never be rescinded by any entity. And this is what public health always does, right? Is it just keeps finding a new way to adapt and accommodate and step up and do what we know is the right work, because it's what the community tells us they need. So thank you for that. And I have high hopes that someday resources will become available again, and we'll be able to accelerate the work because you kept it moving forward. So thank you for all the work. Thank you to all the community partners in the room and out in the world, or who may be watching this later. This is great work, and thank you for distilling it down into such a digestible, easy to understand document. Really appreciate that very much. Thank you all.
Commissioner Lovell.
Thank you, Chair. I think what I heard was something very different, because I hear some people also in my district sometimes complaining about how we're doing things and so many people are doing the same things. But what I heard from you all and saw from these slides is that you've assessed and developed a health implementation plan that's woven into nimbleness and relevance to the community. And I think that speaks a lot to the public who would criticize us for having too many nonprofits, for example. And I think this is well thought out. I think you've gone into deep roots and you've logically connected things together that work off each other rather than fight each other. So I was just super impressed about just how you took a complex issue and not made it simple, but made it workable and progressible, that we could work with it even if we didn't get funded at the 19.5 million, that we could still operate it based on what the community needed most, and you were going to address that. But I think the quote that at the end that really stuck with me was you said that we're going to check the roadmap and see how any new program aligns, because alignment limits duplication. And I think that's the award-winning quote for me for this whole presentation, is that we have a developed health system that not only looks at the needs of our community, but also looks at what we're already doing and not duplicating it with money that we could use doing something else to help something else. So I hope the public heard that like I did, because I think that, to me, was the most impressive part of what y'all are doing. So thank you very much for doing that.
Commissioner Book, Vice Chair.
Thank you. You know, every time I get a presentation from public health, I learn so much. There's so much to it. And I feel like sometimes we're only able to kind of scratch the surface here at a board meeting. It's really heartwarming to know that we have a whole team of people that are delving into each and every one of these subjects on behalf of our residents. I really appreciate all the partners that came together in their time and energy to build this out with us. And I really appreciate these slides. They're really actually quite insightful. I'm looking at the column of, what we heard from residents, one of which was barriers include insurance limits, provider shortages, transportation challenges, and digital inequities that make telehealth harder to access. Members called for a shift to healthcare for people, not for profit. I too hear these things in public when I'm speaking to people, but knowing how we put that feedback into this piece of how we can actually make a difference when those things can feel overwhelming at times. And it can sometimes feel like it's way above our head. Like, this is a national issue. How are we going to make any meaningful progress here locally? Well, that's what the CHIP is all about, is how we can make those day-to-day changes here locally that can improve these really complex barriers that people see. Another one was childcare is scarce and costly. Over 25% of children under age 5 do not have access to care. And we heard earlier today from our Lane Workforce Partnership Board about how they're trying to also address childcare needs in our community. And they all interlock. Like, that work interlocks with your work, interlocks with our priorities here as a board. And we have to try and continue to make improvements in our community. Another one was shortages of housing and rising costs make stability difficult. We've long talked on our board about how the lack of housing is a detriment to the health of our community. And the last one I'll just share on mental health. Well, actually, no, this is, yeah, I wanted to do the mental health one. In 2022, 35% of 6th, 8th, and 11th graders reported fair to poor mental health. 34% experienced depression in the last year. That's just a really sobering statistic. And we have an obligation to our children in our community and an obligation with this work to improve their lives. You know, I've got a kiddo that's in that age range. It hits home for me. It's scary for me to think that that could potentially be her friends, and I want to do everything possible to change that statistic. So I appreciate your hard work in putting this together, and now we'll implement it. We'll continue to implement these things. And you have my utmost support. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Vice Chair. This, I'm glad you came back around to feeling overwhelmed, Vice Chair, because you were sitting there thinking every time we do one of these presentations, we learn so much. We do. We also learn so much about what we don't know. I mean, these presentations are oftentimes exactly that, overwhelming. And this was put together so well that you can just read through it. And every page you look at, there's just something hard hitting. It's like, wow, okay. And then you go to the next page. So, you know, everybody here said great things about the presentation, and it was an amazing presentation. And it's going to take a while for this stuff to sink in. I mean, it's a lot. So, I mean, everybody knows here that I prioritize kids, and that's why I still make time to be on the school board and those kind of things. And these kind of numbers are huge, and it's what we're dealing with all the time at every level. So appreciate the hard work that everybody put into this, and yeah, it's sobering. It means a lot. Thank you. Yes, please, Commissioner
Just
Farr.
one more brief thing that I was going to do it initially, and I just want to point out somebody who's sitting very, very quietly at the back of the room. That's Dr. Maxwell, Elizabeth Maxwell, who's been with us for quite some time, since right about the middle of our first trip. And Dr. Maxwell is one of the, I would suspect, one of the nation's leading experts in prevention, including overdose prevention, suicide prevention, and other things. And Dr. Maxwell, I believe, is the prevention supervisor. And I've just been a pleasure working with Dr. Maxwell through the years. And Kayla, I know you work very closely with Dr. Maxwell, but just wanted to point out, sitting quietly in the back room, as you often do, Dr. Maxwell, good to see you.
Okay, thank you. If that's it. All right, thank you, Katrina. Thank you, team. Okay, we're going to head to the BCC conference room for an executive session. The Board of County Commissioners will now meet in one executive session. This session is to conduct deliberations with persons designated by the governing body to negotiate real property transactions and held pursuant to ORS 192-660-2E, which allows the Board of Commissioners to meet in executive session for the purposes listed. Representatives of the news media and designated staff shall be allowed to attend the executive session. All other members of the audience are precluded from attending. Representatives of the news media are specifically directed not to report on any of the deliberations during the executive session, except to state the general subject of the session as previously announced. Members of the news media are not allowed to tape, video record, or otherwise record an executive session. Verbatim notes are prohibited. No decision may be made in executive session, and the board will return to open session after the executive session. Well, let's take 6 minutes. Does that work? 2:47. adjourn the Lane County Board of County Commissioners meeting for March 3rd, 2026. We are now on item 12A with County Council.
Good afternoon. Thank you, Chair. Commissioners, my name is Emily Barrio. I'm an Assistant County Counsel. With me on this matter will be Lauren Blythe, Director of Operations, and Kathy Suter with Capital Planning. This is in the matter of approving the purchase of real property located at 99 East Broadway in Eugene, Oregon, and delegating authority to the county administrator to finalize the sale. We have been in due diligence for approximately a year. We entered into the purchase and sale agreement on March 11th, 2025. We have had an extensive due diligence period because, as Kathy and Lauren can explain, and as we have discussed extensively in executive session, the needs of this building to facilitate greater needs for the county going forward as it addresses the courthouse, the sheriff's office, and the DA. I'm going to turn it over to Moker Heisky and to Lauren and Kathy for any additional comments or questions the board may have. Thank you.
Thank you, Emily, Chair and Commissioners. As Emily mentioned, we have done our due diligence on the 99 East Broadway property. I would note that we have a purchase price of $2.9 million, and so we're asking for authorization from the board to move forward. The funding of the acquisition of this property would come from a combination of $2 million in capital planning reserves that are in the general fund. These are reserves that were set aside, one-time reserves set aside several years ago when we had contemplated the construction of a new courthouse facility. And so we have maintained that reserve there for that purpose. The other $900,000 would come from the video lottery reserve. This is also a reserve of one-time funds, typically used for economic development related activities. So that would be how we would fund, again, one-time reserve funding that has been set aside for the purpose of advancing a future courthouse. This is, as we've talked with the board, a key piece of the puzzle to solving the inadequate space that is currently available for our courts, our sheriff, and our district attorney. I think anybody who has served in the community as a juror, as a volunteer juror, who has been through our facilities and experienced that, certainly understands the limitations and the significant challenges from the courthouse facility that was built in 1959. So we have conducted feasibility studies for the 99 East Broadway building, as well as an analysis of the existing courthouse and the public service building to determine whether or not these facilities would be adequate in serving the future needs, primarily of the court system, the sheriff's, and the district attorney's office. The answer to that is yes, that is possible. And so this is, the question in front of you really is this the right long-term vision as opposed to what we pursued many years ago, which was construction of a new facility that would have been much more costly. This is a more scaled down version, but still addressing the issues that the courts, the sheriff, and the district attorney have. So again, the decision today is not whether or not to finance and implement all of that future work. It really is whether or not to acquire this piece of the puzzle and to advance that longer term vision. I'll turn it over to Mr. Blythe to add any additional comments that you'd like, and then we're available for questions.
Sure, thank you, Steve. Chair, Commissioners, Lauren Blythe, Director of Operations. Just to touch briefly on the analysis that we put into the assessment of the facility at 99 East Broadway that we conducted in the consideration of this purchase. So we brought on an architecture firm that partnered with other firms to essentially take a look at the facility and assess its any needs it might have and its value relative to the price. Of the things they looked at was structural engineering analysis. They did a seismic assessment. They conducted an ADA accessibility evaluation, as well as they looked at the mechanical, electrical, and plumbing as in the roof and the shell of the building, and also asbestos remediation, what that consists of. So all that said, the direct construction costs that they are estimating to renovate that building and make it available for use is $17.5 million in direct construction costs. We did, as Steve mentioned, we conducted a follow-up evaluation of the courthouse and the public service building to assess those facilities for viability of renovation to serve the functions that Steve mentioned. Not as in-depth by any stretch, because we are much more familiar with these two facilities. It's where we house a good portion of our staff, and essentially the finding or the conclusion was that yes, they are viable, as Steve mentioned.
Chair, one last thing that I failed to mention in my comments was that we, as you see here, we have Sheriff Wilkerson and District Attorney Peroza that are here and available to speak to the needs of their operations. Presiding Judge McIntyre was not able to be here today, but you do have in your packet, that is in the public packet, a letter from Presiding Judge Carrie McIntyre that talks about the court needs. So I just wanted to mention those opportunities for discussion.
Excellent, thank you. If that's it, do we have anything from the commissioners? Any questions? Commissioner Vice Chair Buck.
I'd just like to open it up to the sheriff and the DA to speak to the vision and the need for this particular project.
Okay. Well, as you have earlier heard me say, both the district attorney's office and the sheriff's office have been advocating for either new space or refined space for many years. Currently, our spaces are wholly inadequate. They're unsanitary, they're unsafe, they're inefficient, they're unprofessional, they're unwelcoming. Both spaces were never really designed to be what they are now, and certainly not designed to be what they are now in this time period. We have significant safety issues associated with both spaces because of the design, and we just don't have appropriate space. The inefficiencies, because they were never designed to be what they are great. We have a lot of wasted space that's unusable, and then a lot of spaces that we can use that's just too small for the operations. An example I often like to give is that my lobby to serve the public, which is to serve people who are bringing in court documents or getting concealed weapons permit or a variety of other things, have to basically use a public hallway as our lobby. That's the waiting space for the sheriff's office. It's not much different for the district attorney's office. An example I didn't give you earlier, but this table right here is bigger than the break room I have to serve 80 employees. And it just needs to happen. And the reason why I say needs to happen is we don't have the ability to get the $450 million building that we proposed when we did the courthouse bond question earlier. But this purchase gives us an opportunity to do space planning and to start planning for the needs of both the sheriff's office, the district attorney's office, and the courts in a fashion that we can take a little piece at a time as we develop funds to do it. So I am in support of this project because it is a first step of what we have to do. We have an obligation to serve the community. We have an obligation to provide the court space for the community. And both of our offices have to be available to the community. So, and we're not serving them appropriately just based on the building design as it is. So.
And I agree with the sheriff wholeheartedly. He's touched very adequately on the inefficiencies that exist within our spaces right now. But I do see this as potentially a more cost-effective way of ultimately getting us what we need, which is more and better space for both the sheriff's office, the district attorney's office, but also the courts, who I know are desperately in need of additional space. So I too am in support of this.
I appreciate that, thank you. I think I'll just add for context, I think it was 2018, we went out and asked the community if they were interested in funding a new courthouse across the street. That was unsuccessful at the time. And the feedback that I remember hearing was, well, why can't you find another space that you can just renovate for cheaper? And that is this idea. That is exactly what's being presented to us today at a more affordable cost, but also something that we can plan long-term. So from what I gather, the real plan is 99 East Broadway. We would move more administrative functions over there. The sheriff, DA, and other administrative offices, potentially for the courts, could move into the public service building. And we'd be able to expand space in the current courthouse, since we do have now 2 more circuit court judges that need rooms to do their work and to see the public. It's my understanding, and hopefully I might actually toss this to Lauren, the space needed for the courthouse, currently they have a little over 100,000 square feet.
The courthouse building is 112.5 gross.
112. And the last assessment we did was they really need over 200. 220. So their demands are great. The sheriff's office and the DA's office demands are great. I want to ensure that when we do this additional capital construction project, we have the full support of the whole board. That would make me feel quite confident in the project. And we're looking at a timeline that's kind of extended in order to facilitate the movement of all these divisions. Can you remind me what that timeline looks like?
Chair, Commissioners, so should this move forward, the next tangible step in the process would be to initiate a planning and design phase to look at solving the overall challenge that we've talked about regarding the courthouse and the sheriff's office and district attorney needs, and how 99 East Broadway would fit into that, not just for its permanent state in terms of who occupies which space, but also the staging and the phasing of work to get there. Some of the work being contemplated for the courthouse, NPSB is, as you would imagine, quite extensive and impactful. Seismic upgrades in particular would be very noisy and disruptive to work, and so we want to be careful, and should this move forward, 99 East Broadway could be helpful in phasing the work in such a way as to have optimal continuity of operations for the court, the district attorney, and the sheriff's office. How we do that would be part of the planning and design phase. We don't have that yet.
We could initiate that phase immediately, depending on, and then bring options back to this committee in the next 6 months, just on the larger fit and blocking of the buildings. But it'll take much more than that to design and development.
And we were provided an estimate of around 18 months. I'm not sure if I said that up front, around 18 months for the planning and design phase, should this move forward.
Thank you.
And I would just add, this is sort of tangentially connected to your question, I think that a big piece of being able to fund the cost of improvements for these facilities for the courts, the sheriff, and the DA are going to be reliant on our ability to secure state funding, which we had done back in 2019. We had a significant amount of state funding that had been committed towards a new courthouse, and so we definitely will want to pursue that course with the legislature as we move forward to make sure that we have adequate state funding to be able to invest in these local capital projects.
Commissioner Farr.
I have 35 questions, but you can't answer any of them because all we have is speculation at this point. But the one question is, we have a piece of property adjacent, I'll call it adjacent, it's as good as adjacent to us, that we have an opportunity to purchase and begin the next phase of the next series of steps. The time is right for this. I'm in favor of it. I think the property is great location, a great price, and the timing could not be better. So I won't ask you any more question than that, other than I guess more for you, Chris Perosa, regarding the DA's office. I've toured your office many, many times, and I don't know how you can even move your elbows, let alone do your work inside of that building. If you had a chance to move out of there into this facility here without any upgrade on this facility at all, cost zero, would you do it today?
Absolutely.
That's what I thought. So that's the one question that we do have an absolute answer to. Thanks.
Commissioner Lovell.
Thank you, Chair. There's not much I can say on top of that. I do know this, that I believe the board's in favor of this 5-0, and everyone around this table is in favor of this because it's the best way to the best facilities we can offer our DA and our sheriffs and our staff and everything else. And it's the nearest timeline and the best cost and best tax dollar investment for our constituents. So with all of that expertise around the table, we'll get to the finish line. I'm confident. So I'm full favor of this buy and purchase. So even though the optics may be a little challenging right now to the public needs to know that this was a well thought out, in my opinion, as a real estate developer, and well priced and well timed, even though it may not look that way at this moment. So I'm in full support. Thank you.
Okay. I'll say I'm in support of this also. The optics and timing is funding is tough. It will make people question it, but we are obligated to facilitate the courthouse. And I think we are blurring that line as we speak, for sure. And I know our sheriff's department deserves better, our DA deserves better, and I agree with Commissioner Lovell. I think with the horsepower we have around this table, we can get this job done. So it's going to be a big haul, but I think with everybody behind it, we can make it happen, have a building that we're proud of. Vice Chair?
With that, are we ready for a motion? Very good.
I believe we are.
I'll move approval of Order 26-03-03-15 in the matter of approving purchase of real property located 99 East Broadway, Eugene, Oregon, and delegating authority to the county administrator to finalize the sale.
I'll second that.
We have a motion made by Vice Chair, seconded by Commissioner Lovell to approve Action Order 26-03-0315 in the matter of approving the purchase of real property located at 99 East Broadway, Eugene, Oregon, and delegating authority to the county administrator to finalize the sale. Any discussion? Seeing none, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor signify with an aye.
Aye.
Okay, Jessica, passes 5-0. Thanks, everybody. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much. Exciting work starts.
Exciting work starts.
Sledgehammer out the door.
So we will move to commissioner business. I think Mr. Adams is going to slide up to the table. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you so much.
Commissioners, as you recall, we provided head nods to staff for me to sign request letters for 3 congressionally directed spending requests to our senators. These included funding for the regional wastewater expansion work you have initiated at Creswell and Junction City, request a project for Lane County's archival holdings, and additional funding for the stabilization center. Last week, our staff learned that the Appropriations Committee in the U.S. House of Representatives provided members of Congress with guidance for fiscal year 2027 projects on the House side and a very short timeline. Staff have identified 3 projects for submittal to Congresswoman Hoyle for her considerations. First one is a public safety communications project for the Sheriff's Office serving all of our first responders. Second one is a school zone and a design project to replace the Knowles Creek Bridge in Mapleton. These are due with a tight timeline tomorrow, and staff are in need of head nods for me to sign some papers. And we have Mr. Adams here at the table if anybody has any questions, or if you have anything you'd like to say.
No, thank you, Chair. You covered it very well. Happy to answer questions about any of these 3 projects.
Go ahead, Commissioner Trigger.
Thank you. I will just, I'm excited about all of them. I'm really excited about the school zone speed management, having attended the Community Safety Forum on Bicycle and Pedestrian Safety hosted by Better Eugene Springfield Transportation a couple of weeks ago in the wake of some really terrible traffic and bicyclist deaths in our community. A lot of conversation in the breakout group I was in was around the problems for schools, and I've been able to connect some of the folks that attended that with our transportation folks who are working on rural community safe routes to school grant funding. But we have folks who live on streets that already have high speed limits, and folks speed even when the speed limit is high and kids are trying to get across. And so I'm especially excited to hear that the county has an opportunity to do something to support greater traffic safety in school zones. It's usually a city problem, or opportunity. So I'm especially excited to hear about that one we will secure the funding, and then as we actually implement programs using that funding, I'm really excited about that one in particular. Thank you.
Any other discussion?
You have my support.
Mr. Adams, looks like we have head nods.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Appreciate
your work on putting that together.
Okay.
Don't go far.
Okay.
Any other announcements, Commissioner's business? Commissioner comments or remonstrance? I would just like to say, I'd like to thank everybody for today's meeting. My agenda looks like a treasure map with as much moving as we did, and we went through it smoothly, so thanks everybody for your patience. Any committee reports? Future board assignment requests? Commissioner Wanda.
Thank you. We had an opportunity, and we have an opportunity for some more revenue. Obviously, you know that the board knows that I'm heavily involved in the timber committees and business, and wanting to get some revenue from our timber sources that we have around our county. On February 18th, we received a memo from Elizabeth Bugard, the BLM's Medford District Manager, letting us know that the Bureau of Land Management is beginning the process to update 2 resource management plans for Western Oregon. This is a big deal because the resource management plans has limited our timber production for so long that the new administration and the new headline that we're going for, or the new headspace we're headed toward, is to expand our resource management plans to offer our not only increase timber production and money to the counties, but also to help manage our forests in a sustainable way so we're not burning them every year. But the BLM is revising these management plans to seek an increase in sustainable yield of timber harvest that aligns with the historically higher levels of production in the BLM administered public lands governed by the ONC Act. As you know, I'm on the ONC committee as your representative, and thank you for allowing me to do that. And so what we want to do is we want to work with the BLM to implement forest treatments and to mitigate fires and drought impacts. So according to Executive Order 14223, which is entitled Addressing the Threat to National Security from Imports of Timber, Lumber, and Their Derivative Products, and Executive Order 14225, which is the immediate expansion of American timber production, I'm asking the board to have head nods to have us update these management plans, but it requires us to be a partner in the not only the National Environmental Policy Acts, which preparing the impact statements under NEPA. The agency can invite other federal agencies, tribes, state, and local governments to participate in the review process as a cooperating agency. As you know, we're one of the highest timber revenue dependent timber property counties in the state, and under the ONC, under the 18 counties that we have. And so we have a significant seat at the table, and I'm asking the board to help us sign on as an eligible cooperating agency, which would allow us to facilitate a closer working relationship with the Bureau of Land Management in this planning process. As you know, there's 60% of our lands around us are timberlands, and it's a piece of real estate, if you look at the real estate structure of Lane County, that we can't draw any income from unless we're actively involved at the table to do that. Running our county on 40% of what we have left is, as you know, is being deemed challenging, and our budget numbers reflect that. So I'm looking for head nods for 2 items. Number one is I'm looking for an agreement that the Lane County should exercise its eligibility to be a cooperating agency under the National Environmental Protection Agency for the Bureau of Land Management Plan updates. And 2, the agreement that Lane County should assign the Oregon and California Counties Association, the ONC, to represent us in this process. And I've asked Steve Adams, and I want to thank you for those great bullet points that you deciphered out of all that stuff that we had to read. That was wonderful. I appreciate you doing that. And we're here to offer any questions. But I think the advantage for us to be able to sign on as a cooperating agency under that puts us at the table. And as you've heard many times in conventions, that if you're not at the table, you're on the menu. So I'd like us to be at the table on this.
Sure. Yeah, Vice Chair.
I think before I offer my support, I'd like to actually read any of the documents because this is the first I've heard of it. So for me, it's important to know exactly what I'd be agreeing to sign on to. I know you provided a description, but I want to read whatever you were given first before I can make a decision.
I'm good with this.
You're good with this? Go ahead.
Thank you. I would also like a little more information. I don't know if it sounds like Mr. Adams has already worked with you a little bit on this, so maybe a little something perspective, or if County Council has anything. I don't know what this actually puts us in terms of obligating to do, who's participating, what are the potential risks and benefits. I just don't understand enough about what the implications are of signing on. So I would support an assignment that says bring back a presentation on it so we can make an informed decision. Is there a timeline?
There's a timeline.
What is that timeline?
Timeline is another month or two, I believe. I can't remember the date off the top of my head.
I don't recall, Commissioner, seeing a timeline. They have noticed in the Federal Register on the 19th. So the board received this letter, I think, on the 18th or something. It came to the board address as a whole. And I was monitoring this on the backside and was able to assist Commissioner Lovell with this. But I'm not seeing, I think they're beginning the rulemaking process, and they are reaching out at this point to everyone that they've identified who could qualify as a cooperating agency under NEPA for purposes of participating in the environmental impact statement process.
So I wonder, might we, I'm just also, I mean, it's been a long day and we still have a pretty significant item in front of us for executive session. It's 4 p.m. and I wonder if the time allows, if Commissioner Lovell is amenable to making the assignment be to come back at our next meeting, even with just a brief overview. And that would also give those of us that want to read the materials and a little more opportunity to have a little more background and grounding in what we're being asked to sign on to. It would afford that time if that's going to still fall within the deadline.
I got work. Yeah, I think our next meeting's next week.
2 weeks,
17th. 2 weeks after that.
Yeah.
I think we're still good. We're still, I just want us to get in at the table in the forefront. I don't want us to be rushed at the end and doing this as an afterthought. We've been a player at the ONC table for a lot of years since it's been inception, and we've been a player in the timber industry ever since Lane County's been around. So I think we owe it to ourselves to at least be at that table because that's a source of revenue. And I'm all out about getting a source of revenue to our general fund.
Okay, sounds like come back on the 17th with something.
Just a brief presentation about what the implications of signing on, any potential risks, and who's carrying the work forward, how that really works would be great. Thank you very much.
Chair,
Thank you, Commissioner
happy to
Lovell.
do it.
Thank you. Okay, you got that, Mr. Mulcahy? Or Mr. Adams does, at least?
Yeah.
You've got
I'm
covered?
trying to think about if that's an assignment or you're going to come back on the 17th.
Oh, yeah.
I don't think we
Yes.
need. I don't think we need.
We just need to put it on the agenda, and if you could talk to me about it.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Well, with that then, Board of County Commissioners will now meet in one executive session. This session is to consider information or records that are exempt by law from public inspection and to consult with counsel concerning the legal rights and duties of a public body with regard to current litigation or litigation likely to be filed. It is held pursuant to ORS 192-6602F and ORS 192-6602H, which allow the Board of Commissioners to meet in executive session for the purposes listed. Representatives of the news media and designated staff shall be allowed to attend the executive session. All other members of the audience are precluded from attending. Representatives of the news media are specifically directed not to report on any of the deliberations during the executive session, except to state the general subject of the session as previously announced. Members of the news media are not allowed to tape, video record, or otherwise record an executive session. Verbatim notes are prohibited. No decision may be made in executive session. We will return to public session at 9 a.m. on Tuesday, March 17th in Harris Hall. Okay, so we probably have a couple of minutes.